What's going on, Spreaker? What's going on, everybody around the world? This is James Krishnarik here for the live broadcast of Real Steel Sports. It's been a very interesting week in the world of sports ever since I recently did a show. LeBron James puts up 61 and then the Heat lose 3 straight. The Penguins relinquish their lead as the top seed in the East, only to reclaim it tonight. The NFL free agency flux has already begun to have some big cuts and some big guys that are going to be getting released that a lot of people are going to be surprised at. And we also got Sports Nation help me out. I love the Sports Nation page because I get to do the polls, because I don't study all the sports in as great a detail, but what I do is I do the polls, and I do enough about each topic to go ahead and talk about each one. Alright, 17 polls for today, and here we go. I hope everybody's ready, because it's time to get started. I did have to do some tuning up my computer, so my mic sounds a little dim. I apologize. But let's go with poll number 1. What is the likelihood of a Seattle Seahawks repeat? Well, the NFC is going to be a lot better. Green Bay is going to be better. I think Philly will be a little better. I think New Orleans will be better. I think Carolina's going to regress a little bit. I think Atlanta will be better. I think that Tampa Bay, will be better under new coach Lovie Smith. I also do believe that San Francisco is probably going to be just about as good, if not maybe a little bit worse, because I think teams are finally starting to figure out Colin Kaepernick. And I think Seattle, they don't lose many guys in free agency. I think got a really good chance to repeat. I go with very likely as a chance they can repeat. That is the number 3 option behind 17% of the nation says very likely, 55% says somewhat likely, and 28% says not that likely. I'm basing this off the fact of those teams there, and because other than the Denver Broncos, there's really nobody in the AFC that can contend for a Super Bowl. All right, now which of these teams has the best shot at unseating the Seahawks as Super Bowl champions? The Broncos, the 49ers, the Colts, the Panthers, or Patriots? Let's scratch off New England because they don't have near the consistency in terms of skill position players around Tom Brady, and they won't in 1 year's time. The Panthers are going to let go of Steve Smith, who's been the driving force behind that offense for the last 13 years, ever since he was drafted. The Colts will probably get Eric Decker and a couple other guys, so that'll help bolster their offense. They got a chance. The Broncos are going to have lost Champ Bailey. They don't really have the same kind of firepower on defense, and their offense is going to be lacking as much this year, and Peyton Manning's a year older. And the 49ers, well, again, teams are starting to fare Colin Kaepernick, and the defense won't have Navarro Bowman for the first half of the season. But I have to look right now, still, because they're in the division, I'd still have to give the nod to the 49ers, and most of the nation agrees. Because you look at this team, they're built to beat Seattle. They're the only team on this list to beat Seattle this year. 49ers at 47% leading the way. Broncos are second at 22%, Panthers 11, Patriots at 12, and the Colts at 8. I think the Colts are going to be a lot better than people think this year. Now, what should the Buccaneers do with Darrelle Revis if they can't find a trade partner before Wednesday at 4 p.m.? Well, you got 2 choices. Trade him and hope a team wants to pick up $16 million in cap space, or cut him and let him go wherever he wants to play. And honestly, at this point, no team's going to want to do that. You got to release him. And 67% of the nation agrees with me on that. I think it's a good ploy to cut him and just let him pick where he wants to go. The dude only cares about money. He doesn't want to win championships. Now, is Darrelle Revis still an elite cornerback? Yeah, he is. I think he's the number 2 or 3 best corner in the game. Sherman's easily the best corner in the game, and I'd have to put Darrelle Revis at number 2 or number 3. He's still that good. Now, how will Kansas fare in the NCAA tournament if Joel Embiid, with his back injury, returns for the second weekend? I think they're going to lose in the Elite 8 regardless of what happens in this tournament. I really don't look at Kansas being that great of a team unless Andrew Wiggins is scoring points like crazy. I don't see them doing as well because you look at the teams they're going to probably have to go through. Villanova's a great team, and the Big 12 championship's no guarantee either. So I'd have to say Elite 8 is as far as they'll go. That's actually the second leading choice behind Sweet 16 at 31%. How will Wichita State fare in the tournament? I believe they will lose in the title game. I don't think that this team is getting near the credit they deserve. I really don't. Yes, I know, they haven't really played anybody, but think about it. They didn't exactly play anybody that was good last year, did they? And they went all the way to the Final Four and could have definitely beaten Louisville if they didn't give up that lead. That just goes to prove that against the power schools, they can hang in there and hold their own. So Wichita State is definitely a team that's going to be able to contend. Which team would win a Western Conference Final Series between the Spurs and the Thunder? Whichever team gets home court. It's that simple. Spurs aren't winning 4 out of 7. Spurs are not winning 4 out of 7 if 4 games are in Oklahoma City. Same is true for the Thunder. I'd have to pick the Thunder to have the better chance of doing it because they're younger and fresher, but I still think the Spurs, they're better and leadership. I think the Spurs, if they had best 7 on a neutral series, a neutral court, I think the Spurs would have more time because of their veterans. Would the Knicks ever win a title with Phil Jackson as their president? Absolutely, they'll win a title with him as president. Come on. New York, you want to play there, they got to clean up their roster, purge some of the dumbasses that have plagued that team for years, and get a couple of good players to come in, and they'll be looking pretty good in a couple of years. So if Phil Jackson stays for 4 or 5 years, they got a shot. New York is the only state that thinks they got a chance at 38%. 62% of the nation disagrees. Jared Allen is reportedly leading the Vikings. Is he still an elite defensive end? No. And I'll tell you why. The days of his 22-sack year are behind him. Yes, he's got some gas in the tank, and if he plays 16 games, he'll get you 10 sacks. But if you're looking for a guy who really, really can give you that consistent pressure off the edge, you need to go somewhere else because he's not going to give it to you every play like he used to. Can Santonio Holmes still play a major role in a successful passing game? I really do believe he can because he's not that old. This will only be his 9th year. He's not that old. And you think about it, he's had a lot of games he's missed because of drug problems. But he dropped the drug habit, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers tried to pick him up at a low discount because he's proven that he's changed his ways, and if he continues to play that, I wouldn't mind the Steelers picking him back up. I thought for the longest time that Wallace was the better of the 2 receivers between him and Holmes, but I think that definitely Holmes is better because he's not as quick, but he can make so many clutch catches. And in big play situations, he's so good because he's going to catch that ball and he's going to make some big plays. What would you make of the Steelers cutting Woodley? I have the guy's jersey. Loved watching him play through high school and early in college, but he's got to go. Unless he restructures his salary cap position and takes a gigantic pay cut, he's not going to wear the black and gold anymore. He played himself out of a job. He was injured. He didn't take care of his body. He proved that he didn't have what it takes to be a Steeler. And 56% of the nation agrees. Will Nebraska win a Big Ten title under Bo Pelini? Bo Pelini's had some good teams, but I don't think so, but they'll reach another title game, I agree. I think that they will. And that is a very popular pick because 45% of the nation agrees with me, and that is the leading percentage. Nerlens Noel reportedly wants to make his debut in April. What kind of player will he be? It's kind of weird though, because I'm looking at Nerlens Noel's player profile. He's almost he's over almost 2 years younger than me. And it's kind of weird seeing a guy like that who's 2 years younger than me, who's 6'11", 228, and he's already a big leaguer. But he plays for the Sixers, and he hasn't played yet. He was a really good player at Kentucky. He started 24 games. He averaged 10.5 points per game, and he had that ugly knee injury in February of last year against Florida. I think he's going to be a good player. I don't think he's going to be an all-star, but I think he's going to be a really good player. And over 50% of the nation agrees with me on that one because, think about it, the guy's got some really good potential, and if it's not for his knee injuries, I think that he'd already be playing at a high level. Will the 76ers 17 straight losses this season, will they win another game? Yeah, they'll win another game. Heck yeah. No team's going to finish that far out and pardon me. No team is going to lose that many straight games in the season. The Detroit Lions in 2008 did, going winless in 2016 game season. You have to actually try to be that bad. The Sixers aren't trying to be that bad. Well, maybe they are because they got rid of Evan Turner, who's the only good player they had just a few weeks ago. So I'd have to say they'll probably win another game. Will Tracy McGrady make the Sugarland Skeeters as a pitcher? He's always wanted to play baseball, but I don't think he'll make it. No. That's actually surprising because most of the nation disagrees with me. How do I feel about bacon? One of my favorite foods. It's awesome. It just depends on how it turns out. I can't believe that it's actually a poll, but what I love about bacon is one of my favorite things to do with it is my mom makes potato skins, like twice baked potato skins, and they're so good because she'll cut the bacon up that's freshly cooked in the potato, and then put the mashed potato back in the skin. Oh, it's so good. That's how you eat bacon. And on white pizza with mushrooms. That's how you eat bacon. With hot pepper seeds, I might add. All right, back to sports. What was the Capital One Cup Impact Performance of the Week? TJ Warren from NC State getting 41 points and going to win against Pitt. I'm going to discount that because I'm a Pitt fan and because it's Pitt and Pitt's terrible. I love Pitt, but yeah, they're terrible. They went from a buzzer beater away from beating Syracuse, not being anything else since then. Michael Frazier, Florida, 37 points in a win at South Carolina. Russ Smith, 26 points against 18th ranked SMU. Or Doug McDermott's 45 points, career high against Providence. Doug McDermott, in my opinion, is the player of the year in the NCAA. 60% of the nation agrees with me on that one, as no surprise. I definitely believe he's player of the year. For those of you that are not followers of the CCAC South Campus, Spreaker page, that's where I go to school. But like I said, we're not broadcasting on it anytime soon because of some technical difficulties the previous semester. But I did my show today just for the campus, and I talked about my predictions for the NBA and the NHL seasons because the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup playoffs are going to be here before I know it, and I need to make my predictions. I did a list of the top 5 favorites that I had in the NBA and the NHL to win their respective titles. And here's how my list shapes up so far. I'm going to start with the NBA because you got so many good teams, and the West. I will say the NBA and the NHL are very similar this year in that the race for the Stanley Cup is very Western Conference heavy. Like if you look at the Western Conference in both leagues, they're dominating. And in the East, you get 2 or 3 okay teams, 2 or 3 really good teams, and the rest of the teams are just, borderline. My 5 favorites in the NBA to win the NBA title. My number 5 pick is the Houston Rockets. And the only reason they're number 5 is because they still have not played as much. They might just click right away and go into the playoffs and win. But, I still think they're a year away. I think that, they're a year away from competing, from actually being a champion. They got that champions medal. They got 2 guys that have lost the NBA Finals before, in Dwight Howard, who lost in 2009 with the Magic, and of course James Harden, who lost in 2012 after beating the Spurs to the Miami Heat in LeBron's first title. But the Rockets are a good team with a really good offense, and as of late, they've been on fire. So they've got a really good chance going down the stretch. And